started selling crack cocaine at the age of 12, in and out of jail cells. Got kind of pulled into a life that was far more dark while I'm suicidal, and God met me in that bathroom. I ran from that for 4 years.
But going to your story, I mean, you hear stories of like people who succeed in business or maybe in the NFL, in sports, who have such like a troubling background or in and out of jail or in drugs or in the streets. But I personally don't think I've heard a pastor's story that relates to that. It's usually people who have been in the church their whole life and now they have gotten to where they're at. So just break that down, because there's so much power in that story.
Yeah, I think if I was God, I wouldn't have chose me. Parents from Trinidad, immigrants, first person in my family born in the U.S., raised in Queens, New York, in a very tough urban environment. My parents were, they were believers. I saw my parents reading these holy scriptures. I heard my parents pray. My parents had a small ministry that they led in their basement. And but just the environment outside of my home had a stronger pull on my life than the things that my parents was telling me. That's not a knock on them. My parents were good. They were great parents. I just think the tough urban environment I was raised in had a stronger hold on my life. And so from an early age, I'm in the street, and man, all the things, man. I started selling crack cocaine at the age of 12. And seen the first person I ever saw get shot right in front of me, maybe 13, 14. And, I'm in the street gang in Queens and, in and out of jail cells. And I'm finding community in the street. I'm finding community in the street with brothers, and we're breaking in homes. All the stuff that goes on in the urban context. All of that. And I did that from maybe age 12 to about age 24. And when I ended up in North Carolina, because I got forced out of New York because of legal trouble, so I ended up in North Carolina, it got worse because I met dudes from New York and North Carolina who was older than me, more ruthless than I was. So I got kind of pulled into a life that was far more dark and trafficking weight up and down the East Coast. And like we out there reckless, man, running through females and running clubs and shootouts and gunfights and everything, right? And I don't glorify that time, but I think about it because I think about all the times I could have been dead and gone. I remember the bullet, I talk about this a lot, that grazed my left ear, right? That bullet just meant 2 inches to the right, would have hit me in the back of my head, right? And I would have been separated from God for all eternity. I think about, my friend who got shot in the back when we were running out of the park, that could hit me, my back could have been crippled. I think about the time a friend of mine drove off a cliff on the way to a gunfight, could have died. So I think about that stuff and think of any one of those incidences in the past, man, I could have been separated from God. And, God finds me in a bathroom, in November 2003 while I'm suicidal. And I go into that bathroom and God, I yell at God not knowing he existed, and my wife had a lot to do with that story. I've told that before, and God met me in that bathroom. And I knew God met me because my tears of suicidal thoughts and ideations, my tears of frustration turned to tears of just peace and joy. And I went back and tried to have sex with my girlfriend who became my wife at that time. And for the first time, I felt convicted for sin. Started sleeping on the couch until we got married. And I knew something had happened in my heart, right? And so for me, and I still wrestle with this, right? I still wrestle with feelings of unworthiness. I still wrestle with feelings of feeling ill-equipped. I never bought a platform without praying. And so if anybody watches me, I always kneel at my chair before I bought a platform. If I'm preaching anywhere in the country, 2019, I always kneel down on my chair and pray. And I do that because I want to be dependent upon God before I preach. I never go on a platform with a sense of like arrogance that I got this. I, to this day, still feel sometimes unworthy. I still feel ill-equipped. Sometimes I even question, like, my selection. Like in New York, sometimes you play pickup basketball and you shoot for captain, and these two dudes will be captain. You start picking all the dudes. Like, I'll take that dude right there. Let me get this dude right here. And so if I'm thinking like God is like, I'm going to take Gabriel, I'm thinking I'm going to be the last dude picked. Like, I wouldn't have chose me, right? And the reason I say that is because, and I'm being 100% transparent, right? I still struggle with those feelings of feeling ill-equipped and feeling like, Lord, am I pleasing you in my pastorate? Am I leading well? Am I preaching? I still wrestle with that. Not only do I still wrestle with that, but I say that because for me, like, ministry is not glory for me, okay? What I'm doing is not what I wanted to do, okay? I pastor out of obedience. I preach out of obedience. I don't do it out of my natural desire, right? I had no desire to pastor a church. I had no desire to prepare an oral presentation every week of my life. I had no desire to be dealing with the same community of people every week of my life. These things were not my desire. So for me, ministry is a cross that I bear. It is not glory for me. It is not a pathway to fame. It's not a pathway to success. It's not a pathway to wealth. It's not a pathway to any of that stuff. For me, picking up the scriptures every Sunday and proclaiming this word, every time I do that, I'm carrying a cross. I am doing it out of obedience to Christ. It's because what he told me to do. This is not my desire. It's not what I wanted. Now, I love to serve him, and I will do whatever he tells me to do till he calls me home, but this was not the pathway I chose for myself, right? I had one desire when the Lord saved me. One. Because Billy Graham is my favorite preacher after Jesus and Paul. I wanted to be like Billy Graham, right? I get most excited when I'm talking about heaven and hell. I get most excited when I'm talking about the cross. And so I didn't want it to be in a local community every week. I wanted to be like Billy Graham. I wanted to just travel and preach the gospel until I died. Like, Lord, I want to be, watch this, I want to be an evangelist. That's what I said to God when I got saved. Oh, I was reading Ephesians. Oh, I see you got these different, you got apostles and prophets and teachers, and I want to be this one right here. I want to be an evangelist. Why? I don't want to be in a local church. I just want to travel, preach the gospel, preach the cross, because I love the cross. I just want to preach the cross for the rest of my life. I remember when God told me no. You're going to be a pastor of a local church. And you know what I did when I got that call? Watch this. Rejected. April 14th. See, I know the date. April 14th, 2004 is when God told me, you're going to be a pastor of a local church. And you know what? You know how I responded to that? I had the Jonah anointing. I ran from that for 4 years. I want no part of that. Until I'm in Ohio and Bible college. And the preacher's preaching. And I'm in the back of the room. And he says, there's somebody in the room right now, God is saying to you, he's called you to do something that you've been running from. And God says to you, if you don't surrender tonight, he won't use you for anything in his kingdom. Man, I fell down on my hands and my knees in the back of that gathering. And I said, okay, Lord, it's been 4 years. I surrender. So me getting up this Sunday coming to preach, that's surrender. That's a cross. That's obedience. That's not glory. That's not trying to get to a bag. That's not trying to be famous. That's not trying to get to a platform. I have no, what they call, like, I don't have what people call the bucket list. Yeah. Like, some people got the bucket list. I want to preach for this person. I want to preach for this conference. I want to preach for this. I don't have that. That don't exist for me, bro.
Right.
It doesn't exist. No, there's no podcast I want to be on. There's no stage I want to be on. I don't have that bucket list. If I'm at a podcast, God sent me there. If I'm preaching somewhere, God sent me there. For me, it's all obedience, bro. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
100%.
So that's my journey from the street to the clergy.